Imagine buying the most expensive mansion ever sold, only to begin to think 5 weeks later, hey, I might need a new home. The Mets aren't there yet, but there are certainly leaks in the roof and signs of the antique furniture going from vintage to decrepit. Let's do some digging in. But first, I digress. If you've seen me on this show, you know I have a bit of an obsession with the NBA. So I was fascinated when Giannis reacted with anger and a lecture when he asked if his Bucks season were a failure after they were eliminated by the Heat. Giannis basically said there are no failures in pro sports. But of course there are. Not every team that falls short of a championship is a failure. But a built-to-win #1 seed losing in 5 games in the first round to an opponent that barely snuck into the playoffs? There are no participation trophies here. Everyone is not going to Dairy Queen for shakes, win or lose. If that needed to be drilled home, Milwaukee coach Mike Budenholzer was fired on Thursday, 2 years after winning a championship. How about now, Giannis? Failure? Layer on stars and/or payroll, and expectation levels change. Seasons become defined by success or failure, with little room for gray, like with Milwaukee. And on the subject of Bucks, no team in Major League history has ever spent them like Steve Cohen's Mets. Did you like that transition, gang? Bucks? Cohen agreed to spend $377 million of them on players in 2023. That means about $105 million in tax. I'm no math whiz, but even I can calculate that is $482 million all in. And 32 games into this season, it feels like $482 million just doesn't go as far as it used to. This mansion is 16-16. The offense has been shut out 6 times, which is tied for the worst in the majors with the Royals. And yet Buck Showalter's greatest concern all along has been about keeping pitching healthy and functioning all season, and then peaking in the playoffs. But the projected 5-man rotation has started just 14 of 32 games with a 5.48 ERA. The 2 highest paid players for a season in Major League history, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, have yet to look like their old selves, while raising lots of worries if they are just baseball old. Scherzer's reputation, back in ERA, all have taken hits this year due to a shoulder injury. Verlander did not make his first start until Thursday. The future Hall of Famers combined to give up 4 homers to a usually powerless Tigers team. And this was the week that was supposed to launch the Mets. They were beginning a 13-game stretch against the Tigers, Rockies, Reds, and Nationals. This was supposed to be Mansions versus Hovels. Plus, the Mets were getting back Scherzer from a sticky stuff ban and Verlander from the injured list. That duo had last started on consecutive days as teammates in games 1 and 2 of the 2014 ALDS for the Tigers, who were swept by the Orioles, who were managed by Buck Showalter. Now it's Showalter's Mets who have just been swept by the lowly Tigers, and his worst concerns are being realized. He knew the Mets would not have Edwin Diaz all season after the closer blew out his patella tendon. That shortened the circle of trust in the pen, so the need for rotation innings rose. But the Mets lost Jose Quintana for at least half a season due to a rib injury, and Showalter was envisioning the lefty as a stabilizing rotation force. Carlos Carrasco is due back from an elbow injury next week, but he's fragile and 36. Verlander is 40. Scherzer 38, Quintana 34. The projected youngster in the rotation, Kodai Senga, is 30, but the Mets are babying him so far against soft competition and with extra rest to navigate him from starting once a week in Japan. And that's just issues with the most expensive rotation in the sport. The offense often goes as Starling Marte does, and he is not going well. There is not much power beyond Pete Alonso. The lineup most days falls off a cliff after 5 or 6 hitters. Cohen famously has a vast art collection, so I will paint the prettiest picture possible for him. As my colleague Ron Darling mentioned yesterday, Scherzer is a creature of habit, and he had 13 days off, but now can get back in routine. Verlander settled down and was good after a 2-homer first on Thursday. Brett Baty looks like a hitter who can lengthen the lineup. The Mets played their best in the early months the past 2 years, and the Braves tracked them down both seasons. Maybe this will be the year where they save their best for last. But once Cohen raised payroll the way he did, expectations rose concurrently with it. And whether you are a Buck, Milwaukee, or Showalter, a season could lose its gray. It can become only black or white, simply success or failure.